The sea is a world of its own, with a deep and powerful memory. It holds tales of incredible courage, of devastating storms, and of mysteries so profound they feel like they belong to folklore. It was a ghost ship, a floating tomb holding a secret that has never been revealed. This is the story of the Mary Celeste. She was a sturdy ship, captained by the highly respected Benjamin Briggs. He was a devout Christian and a man of the sea, known for his fairness and competence. This is the greatest of those mysteries. Their cabin was to be a small, floating home on the vast Atlantic. On November 7th, with hope and the promise of a profitable journey, she sailed out into the ocean and disappeared from view. As they rowed closer, they saw the name on the ship's bow, Mary Celeste. The sails were up, though some were torn, suggesting she had been through some rough weather. But there was no one steering the ship. The entire crew had vanished. A chilling feeling settled over the men as they climbed aboard the silent, empty deck. Papers were scattered about, but the ship's logbook was safe. Its last entry was made 10 days earlier, on November 25th. It recorded the ship's position and noted nothing unusual, nothing at all. There were no signs of violence or a struggle. In the crew's quarters, their personal belongings, oilskin boots, and pipes were all left behind, as if they expected to return. Others suggest a giant waterspout or a rogue wave could have threatened the ship, but neither would explain the lack of significant damage. It is possible that some of them leaked, creating a buildup of flammable vapor in the confined space of the hold. He might have ordered everyone into the lifeboat as a temporary precaution, perhaps trailing the Mary Celeste with a long rope until the danger had passed. What they found would become the greatest maritime mystery of all time. This ruled out piracy, as the cargo was immensely valuable. In the vastness of the Atlantic, their chances of survival would have been almost zero. We are left with the haunting image of an empty ship, sailing on as if guided by a phantom hand. The fate of the 10 people aboard the Mary Celeste remains a true and profoundly unsettling, unsolved mystery. Their story is a powerful reminder that the ocean is vast and it does not always give up its secrets. Or a small, contained explosion could have occurred, not strong enough to damage the ship, but enough to frighten them and sever the connection. In the galley, there were ample provisions of food and water to last for 6 months. An unfinished piece of sewing lay beside it. Their daughter Sophia's toys were found on the bed. What could have made a veteran captain and his crew abandon a perfectly good ship in the middle of the ocean? It was a scene of everyday life, frozen in time. The crew were known to be peaceable men, and there were absolutely no signs of a fight. Why would they leave all their own possessions behind? There was no reason for the crew to have starved. The ship was also manned by a capable crew of 7, all with excellent records. Early on, suspicion fell on the crew of the Dei Gratia, who stood to make a great deal of money from salvaging the ship. But there was no evidence of foul play, and their ship's logs showed it was impossible for them to have done it. It is the true story of a ship discovered sailing perfectly on the open ocean, its sails catching the wind, its cargo secure, yet completely empty. Our story begins in November of 1872. The brigantine Mary Celeste prepared to sail from New York Harbor. This was not just a commercial voyage. Captain Briggs had brought his wife, Sarah, and their 2-year-old daughter, Sophia, with him. Its captain, David Morehouse, knew Captain Briggs and knew he was in the area. Through his spyglass, he spotted a ship sailing erratically. The Mary Celeste was loaded with a cargo of 1,701 barrels of raw industrial alcohol, bound for Genoa, Italy. Captain Morehouse hailed the vessel, shouting across the waves. There was no reply. He hailed again. Only the sound of the wind and the creaking of the ship's rigging answered him. Almost a month later, on December 5th, another ship, the Canadian brigantine Dei Gratia, was sailing through the Azores. The ship was moving strangely, as if no one was at the helm. A boarding party was sent from the Dei Gratia to investigate. The ship was not wrecked. While wet, she was perfectly seaworthy. The ship's single lifeboat was missing. This suggested the crew had abandoned ship. But why? The cargo hold was checked. The 1,701 barrels of alcohol were almost entirely intact. The most haunting discoveries were in the captain's cabin. Captain Briggs' wife's sewing machine had a small vial of oil sitting on it, still upright despite the ship's motion. The only things missing were the ship's navigational instruments, the ship's papers, and the 10 human souls who were supposed to be on board. For over 150 years, theories have swirled around this mystery. Another theory was mutiny. Perhaps the crew had murdered the Briggs family and fled in the lifeboat. But this didn't fit the evidence. Could it have been a natural disaster? Some have proposed a Sequoia underwater earthquake that might have panicked the crew into abandoning ship. The most plausible scientific theory today centers on the cargo. The barrels of industrial alcohol were not all perfectly sealed. Captain Briggs, fearing a catastrophic explosion at any moment, may have made a fateful decision. In this scenario, a sudden gust of wind could have filled the ship's sails, causing it to surge forward and snap the rope. The crew and the Briggs family would have been left behind in a small, fragile lifeboat, watching their perfectly good ship sail away from them over the horizon. But this is still just a theory. Like all the others, it cannot be proven.